At first, I was quick to dismiss Dragon Ball Xenoverse on my list of 2015 must-buy games, but that all changed when I watched a ton of Let's Plays and streams about it. Those people who showed the game to me changed my whole perspective. I got the game almost immediately after watching all those videos, and I've been playing it a lot ever since. As you probably can tell, I'm really enjoying my experience, and I figured I would make a video about my full thoughts on the game, cause that's what I do since I'm a reviewer. So let's begin with the story. See, you play as your own original character through various locations in the Dragon Ball Z timeline. This feature in and of itself makes the story incredible. There is nothing cooler than fighting side by side a Super Saiyan 3 Goku as yourself in Super Saiyan form. Plus, you can choose from a multitude of races from the start, each having their own strengths and combos, ranging from Namekian to Frieza's race. Yeah, the creator never really said what Frieza's race was called, so the game just calls them Frieza's Men. Original, I know. This is by far one of the best elements in any game I've experienced in some time. Upon completing the game, you're able to create more characters, and I found myself spending hours trying to make many different characters of different races with different skills. It's surprisingly addicting. But besides this character customization, the real meat of the story seems really formulaic after the third mission. As previously stated, you go through a bunch of different important moments in the Dragon Ball Z storyline, but with the same twist each time. There's a demon guy who really wants to destroy everything, rule everything, and whatever, so he sends out his minions to boost the power level of various Dragon Ball Z enemies in various different time periods. Every single time, someone like Cell or Frieza glows purple, and you, your own original character, must intervene to help the heroes. In the beginning, I thought the idea was really novel. It was cool to see the Cybermen getting buffed in power and destroying everything in their path. But after the same thing happened with Cell, about 3 hours into the same recycled story, it started to get a bit boring. The plot seems like a cheap way to shoehorn important events and important figures into it, but honestly I can't see how the developers could have done this differently. Don't get me wrong, the story works, and the cutscenes are interesting, albeit made almost distractingly stupid by the desynced mouth movement, but it's just not compelling. And near the end of the game, I just skipped over all the cutscenes because the story really bored me. If you know the main plot of Dragon Ball Z, there's really nothing new here. However, the story itself is just a side dish compared to the main Xenoverse experience, so I can't judge it too harshly. Heck, you could skip over the entire story and nothing would be different, and I would argue you might even have a more enjoyable experience. Obviously, the main dish is the gameplay, and well, I like it a lot. It's the sort of game you play while watching TV or other YouTube videos. I know I just played the game listening to a ton of videos, and it served the purpose of giving me something to do while I was bored. It's sort of like The Binding of Isaac in that regard. See, there's just something about the combat that brings me a lot of joy and keeps reeling me back in. Even as I'm writing this, all I want to do is go back and play some more of the game. If you weren't already aware, Xenoverse is a combat-oriented game. That's pretty much how you progress through everything. And yet, it's so unbelievably fun to beat up different characters in the Dragon Ball Z universe. Think of the combat as if you're fighting on a three-dimensional plane with the camera locked onto the opponent. Sure, the camera can be unreliable in situations where there are a lot of enemies swarming you, like that one Boo mission where there are like 6 of them fighting you at once, but for a one-on-one battle, it works almost flawlessly. There's really not much else to the combat. There are the typical combos that are really satisfying to pull off, and knocking back enemies really engages you in each and every fight. Sure, most if not all fights can be easily won by going Super Saiyan and spamming ultimate attacks, like I did on my first playthrough. It kind of makes the combat feel too easy, but it's so cool to see these huge flashy attacks, so it never bothered me. Pulling off a Super Kamehameha or an Ultimate Spirit Bomb is extremely satisfying. Now, the bulk of what you'll be doing are missions that revolve around the combat. A lot of these are simple run-of-the-mill quests of defeating a certain amount of enemies in X amount of time. They aren't inherently bad, but they get repetitive as you play more and more. And if you're filthy Saiyan trash that likes to spam ultimate attacks to win, well, it gets a bit more monotonous. Not to mention, a lot of the time, Xenoverse feels like a grind fest. See, there are these things called parallel quests that can net you XP and different skills. The only problem here is that the skills drop completely at random. Sure, if you do an ultimate finish, it raises the chances of getting a skill from an enemy, but more often than not, you will have to replay the same stage over and over if you want a certain skill. This can be extremely frustrating if you're like me and want to change up ultimate attacks every mission. I wish there was a system where if you complete a certain requirement, you would be able to get a certain skill. These RNG elements discourage me from even replaying completing missions for skills, because after about 20 playthroughs of fighting Vegeta and other villains for the Death Ball skill, I realized that it just wasn't worth my effort. In addition to this single player content, there is also some multiplayer. This comes in the form of battling friends online or locally, and helping each other with parallel quests. The battles online, while a bit laggy, are quite fun, especially if you can talk to your opponent. I still prefer local battles that aren't as laggy, but I digress. There's also some multiplayer sprinkled into the hub that houses story missions, parallel quests, and item shops. Different players can walk around in a main server hub and really not interact with other players in any way. If anything, it's just cool to see other players' original characters. The hub itself is uninteresting. There's no fast travel or anything, so you will find yourself aimlessly walking around to get to different mission spots and buying items. I would have preferred just a regular menu, but this feature doesn't make the game horrendous. It just gets kind of tedious after a while. Seeing a trend here? That's really the case with a lot of the gameplay. It gets repetitive. Most of the missions stick to the same formula and don't stray too far away from it. Sure, the combat is a lot of fun, but repeating the same missions over and over with almost the same build-up and just different characters you have to face is, well, boring. If I do have to praise the game for anything, it's the aesthetics. The game has a very distinct art style and is true to the source content. Plus, the cutscenes look great, and the backgrounds are visually interesting, especially when Namek is exploding. There's a lot of great fan service in this game, and the graphics are just one part of it. The soundtrack is also decent. The main theme has never sounded better, and the hub music is so gosh darn catchy. The amount of heavy rock songs makes the music really wonderful. Themes like the aforementioned hub music are tracks that I can't seem to stop humming or whistling. But overall, Dragon Ball Xenoverse is a good game. Despite its problems with being repetitive, the combat is a lot of fun. It makes the perfect game to play while you're bored if you want to grind or just finish up the parallel quests. And obviously, it's really cool to customize your own character and adapt them to your own playstyle. It's just lacking a lot of polish in many areas, like the awful lip syncing and the repetitive and random nature of a lot of the quests. At the current price of $60, I would not recommend this game to you. $60 is a bit too costly for me to recommend Xenoverse to you. If you're a huge Dragon Ball Z fan like me, then I mean, go for it. If you're interested in the game but don't want to spend the cash to get it, wait for the inevitable sale. But if you disagree or agree with me, let me know in the comments below. And as always, thank you so much for watching and take care. Have a wonderful day and goodbye.